Sunshine.
Yo, what's going on YouTube? Charizma here, and in this video there will be no fighting or other miscellaneous supernatural things. Yes, it's time to put the fist down and to pick up some volleyballs, because today we're talking about the sports manga juggernaut Haikyuu. The timing of this video is a bit weird because the Olympics were over 2 months ago and Haikyuu as a series ended a whole year and a half ago, but hey, look, better late than never, am I right? Now, I'm gonna be honest, I was never the biggest fan of sports series in the past, and yeah, a lot of that has to do with me never really being into sports in general, if it isn't sports entertainment or TV competitions, that is. But I used to see Slam Dunk and Prince of Tennis a lot in the back of my Dragon Ball manga volumes in the past. I used to play a little bit of volleyball in high school, so you know, why not? Last year, I decided to give Haikyuu a chance because I heard the series was coming to an end, and let me tell you, I was not disappointed. I'm actually kind of hooked on the sports series now because of it. I can't wait for the Blue Lock anime to drop, that's for sure. And before I continue any further, I'm an anime only, keep the manga spoilers to yourself, alright? But yeah, anyone trying to start a sports series, I highly recommend Haikyuu to be your first. Who would have thought a simple volleyball tournament could feel like Marineford from One Piece? An extreme analogy, but you get my point. Today, I'll be ranking both the openings and endings from all 4 of the currently existing seasons of the anime, which leaves us with a solid list of 14, 7 OPs and 7 endings. As always, the criteria here for judging will be music, art and animation, any influence that the plot has, and of course, the almighty nostalgia factor. Obviously, this is all just merely my opinion. Haikyuu has amazing themes, and come on, this is a short list. I'm sure no matter what my bottom pick is, somebody will get upset. Whoever that is, whoever you are out there, chill. And now, let's get started with every Haikyuu opening and ending ranked from worst to best. Number 14. It really is unfair of me to call this the worst Haikyuu theme because, I mean, it's definitely not bad at all. Most of this ending takes place under a sunset, which immediately gets a thumbs up from my retinas. The music was created by one of the legendary bands that have contributed to anime history over the years, Nico Touches the Walls, and any theme from the first season of Haikyuu just hits different because nostalgia, but when it comes down to it, man, this list is a shorter one, so yeah, a lot of the tamer stuff, visually speaking, tends to skew towards the bottom, unfortunately. Unless if the song is just utterly amazing, of course. This is Nico Touches the Walls still, so even though this might not be my favorite theme on the list, Tenchi Gaishi as a song is still a pretty cheery, rather heartwarming listen. I do enjoy it somewhat. I also really enjoy this scene of a teary-eyed Hinata running with the sky in the background here, followed by a wonderful panning shot of the rest of the team chilling on a hill, so yeah. Even though this is still ranked last place on my list, I still enjoy a bunch of things about it. Once we get to the other song by Nico Touches the Walls though, you'll understand why this is ranked so low for me. Number 13. I can't tell you why, but I've just never really cared for this opening that much. Yes, this is my least favorite opening, and spoiler alert, it's the only one left out of the top 10 list. Now, obviously, it being an opening, it has a huge edge over my previous pick visually speaking because that was an ending, come on now. Once again though, there's been other songs from Burnout Syndromes on this list that's just stuck with me more, you know? But just like with Tenchi Gaishi, I could listen to this at my leisure, no problem. So the music can't be the issue here. The animation can't be the issue either because, I mean, do you see this scene of Karasuno and Tsubaki Hara's match from the national tournament? Asahi especially here is looking very studly, almost frozen in time due to the sheer pent-up kinetic energy from his spike. The lights from the gymnasium all throughout this OP, as well as the scene of Hinata walking during a snow flurry, is all very sharp, very clean stuff, so yeah, the animation can't be the issue. Maybe it's the plot around this time. It was a training arc, so You know, not the most exciting thing in the world, but Haikyuu's training arcs are pretty awesome in all fairness, especially this one specifically of Kageyama being invited to a super secret all-star training camp. I don't know, man. It's my least favorite opening still, but in the truest sense of what that means, I guess. I don't dislike this OP at all. I just happen to like the other ones more. It is what it is. Number 12. I feel like this is some unprecedented shit right now. Nico touches the walls, burnout syndromes, then spy air, all back to back in the bottom 3? What is going on? This is what happens, I guess, when you have a list of 14 and you're comparing bands to themselves at the end of the day. It's just another one of those situations where, again, the song isn't bad, but there are better songs by the same band on this list, in my opinion. I'm pretty sure most of you already know the Spy Air song I'm alluding to. But back to the ending at hand here, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the last theme that we were left with when it comes to Haikyuu. Until the anime returns with season 5, of course, and finishes out the national tournament. Once again, I'm an anime only. Keep your spoilers to yourself. Now, this ending is a rather simple one, just still images on a plain black background, but its strength might actually be in how final this ending feels, you know? You can't tell me that this, or at least an ending like this, couldn't also work as some sort of pin in the story of Haikyuu, like ending credits at the end of a movie, if you will. The entire ending shows students from high schools all across the country reacting to the national tournament, either on the court themselves or through a broadcast, with Hinata rolling up on his bicycle at the very end to catch a match on a display television screen. Once again, an ending that might not be the flashiest on this list visually speaking, but is still by one of my favorite anime bands ever, and I mean, ultimately it is a pretty by the numbers ending, all things considered. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It was just a really safe play by the studio, you know? Number 11. This is that other Nico Touches the Wall song that I was talking about earlier that I like a lot better, I'm gonna be honest. Now, before you say anything, yes, this ending has a lot less going on in it animation-wise than the first ending to the series, but sometimes, boys, it's to the ending's benefit, I'm telling you. This ending here is just one long shot scrolling from right to left, showing off all of the notable volleyball teams that we've been introduced to thus far. Shiratorizawa High, Date Tech, Wakutani Minami, Jozenchi High, Fukurodani, Nekuma, Alba Josai, Karasuno, all of the teams we've encountered thus far are on display here in culmination of this final preliminary tournament match between Karasuno and Shiratorizawa, which we all look back on with such fond memories, I'm sure. Shout out to Tsukishima, he low-key carried. Now, yes, this is my favorite theme outside of the top 10 to me, and that's only because this ending is one long shot of a single image. You know, if there was more, it probably would break through that top 10. However, the wonderful music, the awesome character poses here, and just the sheer amount of them too, by the way. I always enjoy ensemble shots like these. Yeah, this ending is one of my favorites from a sentimental perspective, if nothing else. Number 10. This opening is honestly just triggering, but not as triggering as the ending. We'll get to it. A bit of a step down from the first opening, at least in tempo, but it is still worthy of my top 10 for various reasons. The biggest one of which probably being the expansion of the cast of characters here, showing off a little more of the wider volleyball scene in Japan for the first time. It's a really nice warm-up song, to be honest, and I don't mean that as a way to call it boring or mid. What I mean is that while the first opening represented this reconstruction of a broken team, you know, this opening represents that newly reformed team now embarking on an entirely new journey back in the thick of the competition. now with 2 new teammates. It's kinda like another first opening, or maybe the formal first opening of the series, whereas the one before this was more of like a prologue. The song definitely carries that baked-in nostalgic feeling that you often get from softer tunes like this, and there's even a few interesting cinematographic choices here too, like this first-person POV scene of what I'm assuming is to be Hinata riding his bike to school, as well as all of Team Karasuno lining up next to each other in a line. It's just so satisfying watching all of their sneakers come down one after another. And this match against Seijo during the chorus is very solid too, starting off with a trademark Oikawa serve. Overall, man, this opening is just solid. Catchy and nostalgic, you know, but not necessarily the catchiest or the most nostalgic. Number 9. Every Haikyuu anime fan out there knows that this ending is gut-wrenching. That first Inner High tournament match against Alba Josai was a real doozy, man. Thanks majorly in part by one of the greatest shonen antagonists without ever having to throw a fist, Toru Oikawa. His rivalry with Kageyama, or as Hinata would put it, the king of the court versus the great king, was just such an effective way of bringing all the underlying insecurities of the stoic rival main character to the surface. And that aspect of this match is what we see portrayed in this ending here wonderfully. It's what makes it so great. This is an ending exclusively dedicated to Kageyama. Throughout the ending, we see him working on his serves and his sets, resting for a bit, then going on a jog, just generally training all by himself until he gets hit with a volleyball at the end while visually seducing another one that he'd picked up beforehand. Turning around in a rage, of course, until he chills out for a bit and smiles for the only time in this entire ending. This ending is just a really neat look into Kageyama's transformation as a player after joining the Karasuno Volleyball Club, to be honest. The brightness and the softness of this ending can be a bit much on the eyes, especially at nighttime, but the sketch style towards the beginning and the end of this ending, the absolute vibes from Takika, and the huge surprise that was the first match against Seijo all make up for it, you know? It's certainly one of the most memorable themes, for better or for worse. Number 8. I think it's rather fitting that this ending follows the previous one on my list. While that ending was more of a sobering comfort song, you know, to cope with the pain, this is more of a pick yourself back up and keep going type of ending. One of those, even after your darkest moments, just get back on that horse and live to fight another day kind of ending. As the theme goes on, we see more and more of the volleyball club joining one another in this scene of all of them running with some rather beautiful clouds in the background. It's great. Before each character is added to the scene, we first see them training, goofing off, or lounging. We see Tsukishima. And yeah, I'll always enjoy slice of life montages like this of any main cast, not just Haikyuu's. Afterwards, we get a glimpse of the mountain of competition that Karasuno has to conquer on their way to qualifying for nationals, as well as a scene focused on all of the administrative staff of the club, including best girl Kyoko and the first-year manager recruit, my little sister and everyone's Yachi. Ultimately, this is just a very inspirational ending that brings back many memories of Yachi standing up to her mom and joining the volleyball club, as well as Karasuno's rehabilitation following the first Seijo match. Oh, and this final still shot with the entire team forming a pyramid with Hinata at the top in this junkyard setting, oh, it's just amazing, man. At the end of the day, this is definitely a song that I can rely on to motivate me when I'm feeling down in the dumps or whatever, you know? Number 7. Immediately, I had this towards the top of my list first time around because, I mean, come on. It's the de facto theme song of Haikyuu, but as someone who binged the entire anime in about a month and a half, this opening just can't compete with others that symbolize much more important moments in the story. Of course, the first half of season 1 is required viewing because, I mean, you gotta learn how the team is formed before you can then go on this journey with them, right? But it definitely isn't at all the most exciting section of the story. Like I said earlier, this part of the series is more of a prologue than anything else. So yeah, long story short, this opening eventually ended up slipping down my list because it just isn't as hype. I'm sorry. However, of course, it's still top 10 and it's not 10. The first opening of a series has to be really fucking bad for it to not be top 10 on a list made by me. It's inherently nostalgic because it's the first opening, so that already gives it a major edge. And then they made it a freaking Spy song, which just makes it that much easier to fall in love with, to be honest. This song is an absolute banger, man. I thought Dragon Ball had great workout music, but here I am only halfway into this list and all I want to do right now is burpees and suicides in an empty gymnasium with this blaring over the speakers. Of course, we get introduced to everyone in this opening, the main cast. Captain Daichi, Sugawara, Tanaka, Tsukishima, Nishinoya, Yamaguchi, Asahi, they all show off their best moves on the court here. Kageyama hits a serve, Hinata and Kageyama perform their trademark combo quick attack. All of this is just the spirit of Haikyuu, to be honest. When it comes to energy and showcase, you really can't ask for more than this. Of course, we eventually get more than this further down the line, but at the end of the day, this OP is just a perfect depiction of what Haikyuu is all about. It's simple and effective. Number 6. Talk about an ending that really makes you want to skip it, you know? Not because it's bad or anything like that, but because the rematch between Karasuno and Alba Josai, man. Oh, it was so intense that I just wanted to get back courtside and continue the match as quickly as possible. Fever by Takika does not help those feelings at all, let me tell you. This song is another one that gets me pumped, not for fresh new beginnings like the Imagination opening, but for the final set in a very long and arduous match against the biggest challenge to date, which, yes, actually is exactly what was happening at the time. This song hit different when you're totally out of breath, that's all I'm saying. I feel like you have to be at least somewhat exhausted for this song to truly resonate, you know? Fever is such a perfect name for this ending, man, as we see the final moments of the first Karasuno versus Seijo match in a beautifully sublime black and white dotted style, which continues for the rest of the way. Hinata and Kageyama eventually pick themselves back up, and then that leads us into this badass shot of Daichi leading the rest of the team into a fierce competition. Look at it! It's boss as fuck, man. Same goes for Aone with Date Tech High, Terushima with Jozenshi High, a little bit of Nekuma High, and Ushijima with Shiratorizawa High. In conclusion, goated Haikyuu theme overall. Season 2 is definitely one of the strongest on this list when it comes to music. It was so close to being in the top 5, so close, but you'll see why I had to exclude it in just a second. Don't touch that dial. Number 5. You know, I actually slept on this opening for a while, until I started doing this list, actually. It's not one of the first themes that I immediately think about when I think about Haikyuu, but that might just be because of how heavily the second half of Season 2 overshadowed the first. It's a bit unfair to admit it because, again, Haikyuu training arcs are pretty great and Bokuto is my nigga. However, it was still a pretty mild section of the story, let's be real here. The opening, though, aged wonderfully, like a fine wine. The elephant in the room, of course, this incredible scene of a live practice match, one entire rally where Hinata, of course, in the end lands the spike for a solid point. It's easily one of the best scenes in the entire anime. Yeah, the music helps, obviously, within the context of a list like this, but the action in this scene really brings out the best in I'm a Believer as a song, which is just what openings are all about, quite frankly. And I don't know what it is with the art in this opening specifically, but it's clean as fuck, man. This scene of Yachi here is especially sharp. Just look at it. Her hair looks great. Don't make it weird, guys. She's a first year in high school. She's everyone's little sister. Then we get this immaculate practice game that, I could just gush over all day. And to close out the opening, we see all of the adults going out for drinks, the extended members of the volleyball club preparing snacks for the rest of the team, and a panning shot of the entire team lined up, standing across from their training camp adversaries. I think this opening deserves more respect, so yeah, I'm top 5ing it. Some people might pit the first OP, the Imagination OP, over this one, but I don't know, man. It's just this scene of this practice match. I'm about to go watch this scene again, actually. It's just so good. Number 4. This was just love at first sight, man, or first listen, I guess. Easily the best ending of the series in my opinion, because I mean, have you heard the song? After making the Gintama video and watching Boruto all summer, Chico with Honeyworks, let me tell you, is quickly becoming one of my favorite anime bands out there currently. And ever since watching Haikyuu to the top last year, Kasen's Spirit is my favorite song that they've made so far. Again, the art in this ending is just so clean, man. You gotta love it. It doesn't even matter that the entire thing is just all still shots. Coach Takeda here looks like a politician brokering $1 trillion deal while he's meeting the other coaches of the volleyball teams, and I love it, man. Whenever I'm doing something and I'm sweaty, you know, taking a water break, I'm always trying to recreate this scene of Hinata drinking from his bottle here. And yeah, no matter how much I think I look like this in my head, reality always humbles me in the end. This ending is just awesome. Like I always say, the ending doesn't need to do too much when the song is this fucking great. And I really enjoy this slideshow style tribute of all of Karasuno in preparation for the national tournament, for what it's worth at least. Best girl Kyoko at the end then returns to her group of delinquent but lovable children after looking at their clean gym the same way a dad looks at his freshly mowed lawn. And yeah, I don't really need to say any more at this point. The replayability of this ending for me is off the charts. The song is a 10 out of 10. Number 3. And here we are at the last opening that we've been left with as fans of the Haikyuu anime exclusively. I think this theme has an amazing opening section with Hinata and Kageyama in their middle school jerseys and the sun rising behind the Tokyo Metropolitan Gym. For the verse, we just get a bunch of people making plays with all of their faces purposely obscured until we get to the bridge of the song, which is where we just see a bunch of familiar faces from the series. Oikawa, Ushijima, Date Text Iron Wall, Bokuto, Kozume, and more, which ends with this fantastic scene of all of Inarizaki High in front of a stairway leading to a temple, as well as Karasuno and Inarizaki High side by side, players piling on top of one another. For the chorus, we then see this match between Karasuno and Inarizaki, and sure, this art style can be very unflattering at times if you pause the video, but in motion, it's great. Dynamic as hell. And yeah, I mean, it's nationals. The match against Inarizaki might not have reached the same levels of intensity as the matches against Seijo or Shiratorizawa, for example, but all of the on-court stuff is obviously Haikyuu's bread and butter, so yeah, this was still a really fun match to follow. The Miya brothers were great. Personally, I prefer Osamu over Atsumu, but that might just be me. And the 2-on-2 dynamic of them versus Hinata and Kageyama was just a great test of if Karasuno could switch up some of their very solid but rather predictable gameplay. Yeah, both the art and the music in this opening knock it out of the park, or rather spike it to the ground, I guess. But when it comes to energy, overall energy, it's just not the peak of the series, you know? To me, at least. So that's why it's only number 3. Number 2. We've reached the best of the best, in my opinion, when it comes to the plot, because look, man, this is the volleyball match that's been essentially built up from the beginning of this series. Before we even get to the actual opening, I have to talk about this specifically because this match against Shiratorizawa High, as well as the best ace in the entire prefecture, Wakatoshi Ushijima, is pretty much the Naruto versus Pain of Haikyuu for me. It's the Goku versus Frieza of Haikyuu for me, in the sense that I would consider it the peak of the series in hype, you know? I don't have stats and charts to back this up in manga sales, it's not that deep, but you know what I mean. Ushijima was built up to be just this insurmountable beast for so long in the series that once we finally arrived at the moment of truth, the game of truth, the stakes felt like they were at an all-time high. I'm not saying that the series dipped at all in quality after this match, but I've never been more invested in the story than I was while watching season 3, I'll just say that. But back to the opening, and yeah, from top to bottom, it's just filled with spectacular visual metaphors and effects. First, this opening scene of Karasuno approaching a mountain, which actually turns out to be Ushijima, the eagle of Shiratorizawa in camouflage, is just brilliant, man. Oh, look at it. The scene of the crow flying through the city early in the morning is just beautiful. And then we get to the section of the opening where we see Karasuno facing off against a phantom team on an empty court, complete with slow motion effects that really bring out all of the little details of the physics of everything going on here. Then, for absolutely no reason, Ushijima just appears out of thin air to shut down any momentum that Karasuno was building. Just no. No. The spike felt around the world, that's for sure. The scene of Hinata soaring in the sky just like the crow that it transitions into is just breathtaking, man. It goes so well with this section of the song, as well as the scene right after this of all of these crows bringing some light into the gymnasium finally. Looks like a nightmare to animate, that's for sure. I just love watching this opening, you know? It's beautiful from back to front, you know? And if you include the music as well as the plot around this time, it's just a perfect storm of Haikyuu greatness. It's an opening second to none, besides one other OP that just represents a totally different peak in the series, for me, personally at least. And that brings us to number 1. What could it be? The only opening on this list that could compete with my previous pick in terms of hype and intensity and just overall high levels of investment in the series. I tried everything to find something about this OP to use against it. It was really difficult of me to not put this at the top, if we're being honest. It's just the most complete opening slash theme slash whatever on this entire list. Everything about it is flawless, from the song, besides Spy Air, Burnout Syndromes are the sound of Haikyuu, that's for sure, to the arc. The Karasuno versus Seijo rematch was the drug that I needed, in all honesty, to get me addicted to sports anime now. To the animation, which really speaks for itself. This opening is just the spirit of Haikyuu, there goes that phrase again, but this time in overdrive. One of my favorite scenes of the entire opening is this one here of Hinata using his observation haki, studying his opponent's plays and tactics, channeling the spirit of the tiny giant. And yeah, obviously I'm being sarcastic with the whole hockey thing, but it does remind me a lot of that scene of Luffy using Future Sight from the One Piece Superpowers opening. The majority of this OP is focused around Karasuno and Alba Josai High, obviously, but a few other schools make cameos as well. During the chorus of the song, we see Karasuno working their way up the ladder, shutting down Chozenshi High and powering their way through Akutani Minami until eventually facing off with their old rival Seijo at the end. All with the threat of Shiratorizawa High looming in the background. And yeah, these mid-game scenes in this opening are awesome. They've been awesome for the entire list, and this to me is honestly one of the best. Still not better than I'm a Believer, but that I feel like is an anomaly, right? I love how some of the spikes, blocks, and receives are timed with the music. Everyone's game faces here look so fire, especially Daichi, the type of captain that every team deserves. And of course, Hinata and Kageyama's quick attack at the end and its slow motion greatness is just the cherry on top, you know? This is the peak of the series for me. Narratively speaking, no, because we still have that Shiratorizawa match and the end of the series that still hasn't been animated yet. But as a fan, personally, this was when I fell in love with Haikyuu. I'm not saying season 1 was bad or anything, but everyone has their moments when they're just sitting there like, wow, no, this series is actually fire as fuck. Like, no, I'm here. We've arrived, son. We are here. The action in this opening, how each person's role on the team is being portrayed here, from Asahi's spikes to Tsukishima's blocks to Kageyama's sets, the excitement and intensity on all of the characters' faces on and off the court hell. Even the song title, which harkens back to Karasuno's banner and the overall theme of the series as a whole, this opening tells you everything you need to know about what it's like watching Haikyuu. What it's like being a fan of volleyball within the Haikyuu fictional world, what it's like being a player on one of these volleyball teams. It's just, the energy is undeniable, bro. If you're not hooked onto the series after watching an opening like this and a match like Karasuno Seijo 2, then look, I won't judge you because, again, I wasn't a fan of sports manga either for a long time. However, like, this shit is fire, son. I mean, come on. Come on. You're lying to yourself if you don't like this OP. And that was every Haikyuu opening and ending ranked from worst to best. I won't make this outro too long. I'm ready to get on out of here. Just wanted to give you guys a few channel updates. In terms of the ranking videos, they will not be going anywhere. I know you guys have been seeing a lot of other, let's just say, experimental shit on the channel that I've been uploading, but the ranking videos are to stay at least once a month. I'll try to do twice a month, but you know, especially if it's like an hour-plus long video, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time, man. But according to the poll that I just put up about like a week or so ago, man, Food Wars gets snubbed again, man. Again! Shokugeki! It did still come in second place, so next month for November, I will be doing all of the Boruto endings. And for December, finishing out the year, finally, with every Shokugeki opening and ending ranked from worst to best. It's going to be fun. Anyone that's been subscribed to me, I'm sure you've been seeing a lot of my live reactions to various manga chapters. You know, it's not done yet, Xenon. It's not looking good for you, son. I'm going to try and figure out a schedule for that, like a consistent, solid schedule. But expect at least me to review the mainstream series every time a chapter comes out. So, you know, My Hero, One Piece, and Black Clover, those are a lock for the foreseeable future. Everything else we'll kind of play it by ear. You know, we'll see how the views do. We'll see if anybody asks for other miscellaneous series. Yeah, it's a new era for the Charizma channel. The power scaling is done. I've literally been arguing with people all year over this Naruto versus Ichigo versus Luffy video, and I don't think I'm gonna do any power scaling videos anymore. Yeah, man, I'm out of here. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if I'm alright. Subscribe, please, because I'm broke. Be on the lookout for the next One Piece chapter review if it hasn't dropped already. Depending on whether or not I run into any copyright issues with this video, this might be up before the One Piece video, maybe not. But yeah, be on the lookout for One Piece, My Hero, and Black Clover reviews this week. And in terms of ranking videos, if this is the only thing that you watch from my channel, I'll see you guys all next month with Boruto. I'm out. Sun time! Charizma. Whoa. Drop another bag, pop another tag. All my niggas rad, all my niggas chat. They be with the chatter, talking out they bladder. Pockets getting fatter, now it do not matter. Pop another adder, now I'm really focused. Gotta break the pattern, gotta be the opus. Yeah. If I'm the sun, then that ass is on Saturn. Fat. These niggas, they talk, but they really get clattered.